I don't want people to complain to me about the store's products. While I do make sure to check if they are not damaged or if, at least, I check if fruits are damaged or fine when I buy them, it's unreasonable for someone to criticize me if they don't like the products. The store is also cautious about providing their products. So it's unfair to complain to me like that. Moreover, my mother-in-law's complaints are nothing but irrelevant slander. I am a housewife in my mid-30s. I live with my husband and 2 children, making it a family of 4. Our life is ordinary and peaceful. I feel very happy. However, for the past month or so, I am having a little trouble. My mother-in-law started to use me as a gopher. My parents-in-law live close to our house, just 10 minutes away by car. My in-laws, a couple, live. Though my mother-in-law is quite harsh towards me, I have the unpleasant experience only in a limited time when we meet in person, so it wasn't something I couldn't endure. On a rainy day, my mother-in-law called and said, "I really need to go shopping today. Can you give me a ride?" I thought it would be fine for her to go after my father-in-law returned home, but it wasn't a big deal, hoping that her attitude would soften. So, I gave her a ride. But this is where the trouble starts. From that day on, my mother-in-law started asking for the car every day, whenever she went shopping. It seems she got a taste for it. Because I had accepted once, it became somewhat difficult for me to refuse her request. I know it was partly my fault. I'm easily swayed by others and have a hard time saying no. It's true that I have a personality that, even if my mother-in-law gets carried away, there's nothing I can do about it. I didn't have the strength to confront her directly and complain. Because of that, my mother-in-law's demands keep escalating. I'm always summoned by her as usual, and when I arrive at her house, she says, "I caught a little cold, you see. I wrote it down, so please buy this for me today." I accepted this because there was no other choice. But then she took this for granted. In the end, she even asked recklessly, "Check the kitchen and figure out yourself what you need to buy. Use your own judgment." It's not like I know. I had no idea what she intends to cook for dinner that day. I wouldn't know unless she tells me. And if things go wrong, she might even ask me to plan the menu and cook. It seems like they're asking me to plan the menu and cook. I managed to draw a line by saying, "Please just give me instructions on what to buy." However, by drawing this line here, it means that the grocery shopping ends up being my responsibility every day. If it had just ended here, perhaps I could have endured it for a long time. I'm used to put up with things because I can't assert myself strongly to others. But my mother-in-law was not satisfied with that. But she didn't end there. My mother-in-law, as if it were natural, didn't express any words of gratitude, but instead, she took everything I had bought and lined them up at the entrance, saying, "Oh my goodness. This daikon radish, it's as thick as your legs. It's too thick. The cabbage is too big, and the potatoes are too small in contrast. You can't even do the shopping properly." She started saying things like that. Just so you know, the items displayed at the store, including fresh produce, don't have significant differences in size or shape. Stores also carefully select their products. It's not like I can do anything about it if she complains to me. However, what my mother-in-law nitpicks most is neither because she does not like the products nor she does not like me. It's just to relieve her stress. Well, it's more like a hobby. Some people have a hobby of finding fault with others. As proof of this, my mother-in-law's checking of the merchandise continues afterward. The tempura you bought the other day. It turned all soggy when I heated up in the microwave. Go and buy a more solid one next time. No. Of course, it would turn soggy if you microwave fried food. It's not the tempura's fault. What do you mean by a more solid tempura? Do you really not understand, or are you pretending not to know just to complain? The tomatoes have bad color, and those green peppers you bought yesterday were the worst. Just like your head, it was all skunky inside. In the first place, everything is too expensive. She shouts. So don't complain to me about it. Go tell the store. Even if I'm patient, it's mentally exhausting to endure this for a whole month if she continues this every day. I can't directly confront her, but it's also uncomfortable to tattle to my husband or father-in-law. It's somewhat pitiful to involve you in my mother-in-law's selfishness when you're working so hard. But at that time, I was under a lot of stress as well. I couldn't make calm judgments, and my anger ended up exploding in an unfavorable direction. In this supermarket, they have a system that customers can write their feedback on designated forms, and the contents and their responses are displayed on a notice board hung on the wall. I took several dozen of those forms to home and wrote down all the nitpicking my mother-in-law has done about the products. And at the end, I wrote down the address and phone number of my parents-in-law's house. It's a shame there wasn't a section to write their name. It may be annoying for the store. But once I go out of control, I can't stop myself anymore. Since there were still more feedback forms for customer voices left, I wouldn't stop until they ran out. This time, I started writing down her verbal abuse to me. I don't like my daughter-in-law's face. My daughter-in-law is inconsiderate. My daughter-in-law's legs are like those radishes and too fat. I wrote them down one after another, including things that have nothing to do with the store. But it was too late. I would appreciate it if you could interpret it as the extent of my frustration. The only consolation in this posting was that I also wrote my impressions on the remaining paper. So, I didn't mean it as an apology, but I also wrote down several other things I noticed or felt happy in. I sent them together with other complaints about products and the remarks about the daughter-in-law. I felt quite relieved after sending them. After feeling relieved, I was able to reflect on my actions calmly. However, at that moment, I didn't realize how significant this submission would become. But at that time, I didn't realize that this submission would become significant. I even didn't consider that. Because my mother-in-law's complaints were nothing but groundless accusations. I thought the store would just ignore them. Even in the posts of bullying towards the daughter-in-law, I included the address and phone number of my in-laws' house. But that is something the store can't do anything about. They can only ignore it, right? But my thinking was naive. Surprisingly, the store took action. From here on, this is what I heard from my parents-in-law. The higher executives from the supermarket's headquarters and the store manager visited the parents-in-law's house when both of them were at home. They came with a gift, carrying a gift basket. Suddenly, my parents-in-law received an apology from the two people, and naturally, they didn't know what it was about. The two people from the store seemed curious about my parents-in-law's reaction. My father-in-law invited the two people into the house and asked them the reason for their visit as he led them to the living room. Understood, the store manager responded, and took out a stack of customer feedback forms from his bag. Of course, it was what I had submitted. The store manager showed them one by one to my parents-in-law, explaining, "We carefully select our products, but if there were any shortcomings, we sincerely apologize." It seems that they bowed their heads together with an employee from the headquarters. However, as far as my father-in-law read the forms, all the content seemed to be baseless complaints. Because my father-in-law believed that my mother-in-law was doing the shopping, he gave her a piercing glare, shouting angrily, "What is this? They are all baseless accusations." She shouts angrily. My mother-in-law panicked at the unexpected turn of the event. "And no, that's not true. Recently, I've been sending my daughter-in-law for shopping trips. I didn't send anything like this. I just told my daughter-in-law." She easily dug her own grave. The store manager had a wry smile. "I see. I understand the situation now. In short, your daughter-in-law directly wrote down the words spoken by your wife. Directly written down by your daughter-in-law and sent to us. That's why the complaints towards your daughter-in-law were also from the same address." He handed the paper with the bad-mouthing comments that I was told by my mother-in-law to my father-in-law. After seeing the contents written there, he got even more furious. He abruptly stood up from the sofa. "You, after being taken care of by your daughter-in-law, have been saying such terrible things regularly." He raised his fist. My mother-in-law couldn't even make any excuses for too many developments. My mother-in-law prostrates herself on the floor and repeatedly apologizes, saying, I'm sorry. As the headquarters employee quickly intervened to stop it, fortunately, it didn't escalate to violence. However, my mother-in-law didn't expect my father-in-law to be so angry, and she seemed very frightened. Perhaps to lighten the mood or calm the situation, the address wasn't written here. But since the handwriting is the same, I was wondering from where these came from. It's rare for someone to provide words of gratitude along with a complaint like this. Then, they showed words of gratitude towards my store, saying, "Such words are very encouraging for us, especially for those of us working on the front lines. Please convey our regards to your daughter-in-law." They once again bowed together and left home. Probably right after this exchange, my mother-in-law called me on the phone and said angrily, "What have you done? Because of you, my husband got angry. How could you do such a thing?" She briefly told me the details about what happened right before the phone call. I was surprised, but I realized that I had caused unpleasant feelings for my father-in-law at that time, and I felt guilty for causing trouble to the store, and my anger towards my unreasonable mother-in-law, who continued to say hurtful things, turned into anger, and I finally confronted her, saying back, "What are you talking about? Isn't it all your fault? You kept complaining to me about the quality and service at the supermarket, but nothing ever improved there, so I wrote those things on your behalf. I've been doing things for you all this time. Fine, I get it. If you're going to keep saying that, then I won't bother anymore. I won't go shopping for you again, or give you a ride." My mother-in-law became more agitated and started shouting incomprehensible words, but with a dull thud, the words changed to cries. My father-in-law said, "I'm sorry. I never knew that my wife was causing you so much trouble. Even though I didn't know, it's not something that can be forgiven. I'm truly sorry. I'll also talk to my son, but you don't have to have anything to do with my wife from now on. He gave me those words. It seems that he punched my mother-in-law, and he managed to take away the phone. As for my mother-in-law, I can't help but think it's her own fault, so I feel somewhat satisfied. Afterwards, my husband apologized to me, and the phone calls from my mother-in-law stopped. However, aside from the family problem between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, involving unrelated businesses was something I regretted as going too far, so we went to the shop to apologize together with my husband. I had originally planned to go alone, but my husband said, "It's because I failed to notice and let you get pushed to that point. I'm truly sorry." And he accompanied me. The store manager who dealt with us said, No. It's quite charming among the letters we receive. Some people even write about their dissatisfaction with politics. More than that, we greatly appreciate your words after thoroughly examining the shop. We are deeply grateful. On behalf of the staff, I express my gratitude. And on the contrary, he bowed to us. Professionals are different in any world. No matter the world, professionals are truly different. Nevertheless, I started using this supermarket frequently. Although there is a store closer to my house that offers products with cheaper prices. It made me think again. Stores aren't just about affordability and product selection.